prior minutes. Do we have any comments on them? Oh dear.
No comments.
Okay.
No.
Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept prior meeting minutes.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Excuse me, any abstentions? I don't know if I'm picking up everybody here, so I can't see. Kat, this says, my screen says you're unverified.
I don't know what that means, but I'm here.
Okay. And let's see. One problem is I printed all this stuff out, or most of it, and now I'll never find it right now. So the first item is anyone?
Oh, let's see here.
If I can interject, the next would be comments or concerns on the agenda.
Mhm.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
always.
I
Next is
actually,
go ahead.
I left off a name on the CPE extension request, so I would ask if we could add that to the review. The request did get sent with all the documents already. I just clerical error on the agenda. So if we could add Sean McNamee to the extension request review list, that's what I'm asking
Okay.
for.
I will entertain a motion.
This is Pete. I'll make the motion to add that to the agenda.
Thank you,
Robert
Pete.
Dale second.
Robert second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, did I hear Carla?
Yes, you did.
Oh. It
I'm
doesn't want to,
here.
it doesn't want to show you. There you are. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm still loading things up. So if somebody could read the next item on the agenda.
It says legal division.
Legal division.
Ah, yes, this will be the bulk, I believe. Then we'll move on to the legal division.
There's nothing under the legal division. I think
Oh,
the
no.
next one would be CPE extensions.
Oh, okay. I expected that to be under there. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Just a minute. Our first one is Lindsay Kendrick. Hold on just a minute. So I sent, she's asking for an extension due to medical. The records was sent for your review.
Mhm.
Sorry, my thing is just loading and it's kind of slow. She is asking for an extension through December 31st to complete her hours. Due
Okay,
to the
do I have?
medical reason.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these were, obviously confidential, so we'll need to rely on a board member to start a conversation or make a proposal here.
Mhm.
Accept, reject, concerns?
Just seems like she finished her medical leave in December of 23, and we're talking about CPE that should have been done. She did have another
Right.
6 months to get it done.
Right.
Yeah, I was looking at
Mhm.
that too.
So
Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
say there were complications or issues, so I'm just wondering why she would need a year to get it in. Do we know if she completed it through December 31st? I don't
I
see
am
that.
unsure.
What was that in the background?
Oh, I just asked if we know if she completed it by December 31st or not.
Yeah, no, I was hearing,
My response was I was unsure.
Yeah.
right. It was unclear.
Just to be
But-
clear on the question, isn't the question whether she has to pay the late fee or not?
Ye-
Is that,
I
Assuming
think
she-
I think that's what we're looking at here
right?
is the late fee, because unless there's a later date requested, clearly we're past December 31.
Right. So I'm going to assume that she knew that she would have completed it by December 31st. So she's asking us to waive the late fee.
Right.
So if we don't know that she's completed it as yet, I would say, can we table this until she provides us proof that she completed it?
I mean, her application for the waiver is saying that she would complete it by December 31st, 2024, so.
Well, rather than dragging this out for another several months, we could say if it was completed by December 31st, whether we would propose waiving or not waiving the fee. And if not, then it's not done yet. So there's nothing that would cure that.
I guess I'll
Well,
make a
I'll-
motion. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Stacy. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'll make a motion to approve it pending proof that she completed it by December 31st.
So would you like me to ask her for all of what she did, like all of her certificates? Because I don't even know how many hours she's completed. I don't know if it's just maybe half of the hours that she needs, or how do you guys want to go about it?
I think we need proof that she completed and she's met all the requirements of the 40 hours for the period of time. And she's had more than enough time, we would assume. She's had over a year now to
Right.
get this time in. So I think that's what it is. I will, and with that being said, I will second Stacy's recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any further comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes. Alpana Marwa?
Yes, so she's requiring an extension, I believe, until December 31st as well. She was short by 6 hours due to unforeseen circumstances. I sent proof to support her request.
I would make a motion to approve her request in that case, subject to any discussion.
We have a second?
This is Pete. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments, discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Boy, I'm getting some feedback in here. Is anybody else getting that feedback?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Whoa. Sarah
So I
Begg.
think Carla's logged in twice, maybe is the issue.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Carla, maybe if you could sign out and try to log back in, something happened and I think it's picking up.
We can't hear Carla.
Whoop. Okay, well, Carla's muted.
She was
Yeah.
on twice though, one's gone now.
Oh.
If she unmutes her
one is gone.
computer, I think she'll be okay.
Okay, as soon as Carla can hear, we'll move on to Sarah Begg.
I can hear.
Okay, very
Oh.
good.
Much better.
Sorry about that. I'm not very good at these things.
Well, I'm here on Teams and I have a message in the background that something went wrong, try again. There's always something with Teams. Sarah Begg?
Rachel, are you gonna present the others or?
Yeah, I can take care of it.
Okay.
So Sarah Begg, she requested an extension to January 12th, 2024. We've already completed 4 credits and it was due to good cause.
Any comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Cassandra Jengler? I don't know whether that's a hard or a soft G, so.
So she requested an extension through 7/17/2024 and has already completed 33 credits and it was due to a medical request.
Can you repeat that again? What, the date?
Sure, sorry. It was an extension requested through July 17th, 2024. And they completed 33 credits already. And it was due to a medical request.
Okay, any
I'll make the
thoughts?
motion to approve.
Second?
second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Sean Goldpaw.
Okay, so Sean Goldpaul requested an extension through December 31st, 2024. Has already completed 34 and a half credits and is asking for medical request.
What was that, Carla?
I didn't see anything.
Oh. Okay, must have been some background noise. Any comments? Motions? Discussion?
This is kind of similar to the first one, I think, because he was back at work and just needed 5.5 hours. do we just want to verify that he completed it?
I think so.
I would agree, yeah, I would agree to that.
Okay, so I'll make same motion, approve pending proof that he completed it by December 31st.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion, a second. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, abstentions, none. Motion passes. I hope nobody's can hear Bluey in the background. Pretty
No.
sure not. Rodney Kaufman?
Okay, so Rodney Kaufman is requesting an extension through June 30th, 2024, and they completed 36 credits already, and the reason is good cause.
Isn't the deadline June 30, 2024? It doesn't sound like a request for an extension based on the way you described it.
Says he put in the wrong number, so he was 4 credits shy.
Right, so he's looking for an extension past June 30, 24 to have completed those 4 credits, correct?
Yeah, and he listed in here that he completed 2 in July and 2 in August. So as of August 20th, he had enough credits. He just kind of like a clerical error on his part, and he was taking care of his elderly mother.
Right.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Nana Samuel Agbona or Agbana.
So they are requesting a waiver of the CPE requirement, and they didn't check it off. I'm going to say it's under good cause would be the reason.
This is Kat.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry. She actually submitted a revision because she actually I'm not sure if it's a she or they completed the requirement by December 31st. They just checked the wrong box. So they actually have completed it already.
Oh,
So it's not a waiver request. It's
Correct.
just a
It's a,
timing.
fine request, really.
Yeah.
Wants a waiver of the fine, correct?
Correct, but the reason is the same as the original.
Right.
The original form that was sent to you.
I think this is the most waiver extension requests of any year end we've had in a long, long time. For
Yeah.
whatever reason, maybe serendipity.
I'll make a motion to approve this one.
Okay.
Second that.
Second, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, Robin. Whoop, there it goes. Okay, exam credit extension request.
But there's one
Oh,
more.
actually, sorry. One second.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
You
we have
added a
that
couple.
additional. Sorry.
Okay,
Sean
no?
McNamee, they requested an extension through May 1st of 2025, and they have not completed any credits yet, and they're asking for a medical extension.
Okay. What was the reasoning behind May 25? It's May 25? Yeah.
The last sentence in his request was that they'll complete a few courses this week. That was earlier in
next season.
January, but then they may need until May because they're mostly a tax accountant. So I think don't think they'll be able to get it all done in time.
Well, it's medical purposes, and because I feel his pain as a tax accountant, I will make the motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Way back many years ago, I remember all the tax accountants used to go skiing the first couple of weeks of January and thumb their nose at the auditors. So I don't know if I have the same feeling. Okay, do we have any other additions? I've apparently pulled up on, we're set to move on to exam credit extension?
Yes, we can move on. Thank you.
Okay.
Could I just
Connor,
ask before you do that, John,
sure.
does DCP follow up with these people? Like they're not double counting these hours?
Yes, we do.
They
Yes,
do
we do.
audit them, yes.
All right. Is
So
that like
the next-
automatic for anybody with an extension like this?
What do you mean by automatic?
Like, do you double check every person who was granted an extension to make sure they're not using the hours twice?
Well, for audits, we can't do everybody, but for these extensions, we do put a note in their specific record and we do check
Okay,
based on the fact that they had submitted a request. So let's say if someone is denied, we want to make sure that they did pay the fee and not just put, because sometimes they request it before the renewal period. So by the time renewal comes, they can put whatever they want in the application without, we do check.
Okay.
So moving on to exam extension request, I did submit the wrong spelling of Mr. Connor Bomosick's last name. There's a C at the end, so CICH. But he's requesting an extension of his FAR credit. So he took the FAR in May of 2022. And the score was released a week later. So the original expiration date of this credit was November 2023, which was like 18 months, after the test date. However, because he took an exam after October 1st, 2023, based on the new law, he was qualified to have that credit extended to 30 months. So under the new law, his FAR credit was extended to November 2024. He's requesting that it be extended to June 30th, 2025. Basically a 7 months extension, 8 months. And so he, based on the reason that I had submitted to the board. At this point, last I checked, which was a week ago, he has 2 credits out there, 2 good credits, the BEC and the ER, the reg. So I can answer any questions if you need, but basically he's requesting to extend his FAR credit to June 30th, 2025.
Okay, any thoughts?
I propose that we grant the extension.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, hearing none, it is passed.
Thank you. The next, Mr. Eric Penner, he is also requesting an extension of his FAR credit. So he took the FAR in November of 2020. So the original expiration date was May 2022. However, under the universal CRY extension, which was the credit relief initiative that the board approved back I don't remember, 2 years ago. Under that relief, credit relief, it was based on, the pandemic. That was a universal extension that says any credit that expired between January 30th, 2020 through May 11th, 2023, were extended to June 30th, 2025. So based on that credit relief, his FAR credit was extended to June 30th, 2025. He is requesting to extend that 6 months to December 31st, 2025. And at this time, he has no other scores outstanding, meaning he hasn't, passed any other sections of the exam.
Hmm.
So the original, he
Really?
did take it 5 years ago, almost 5 years, 4.5 years ago.
And hasn't,
And the reason, I believe, was medical. It was sent to you
right,
separately.
any comments? No comments? Any proposed proposals?
This is Carla. I'm just curious. I suppose it's the medical that's the reason for this long of an extension. It's unusual in my experience for it to be that long.
I think not being a medical doctor, I I agree. But
I mean, it's an awfully long time to Kat, are you talking about extending it for over 4 years since he took it? Or
Well, yes, he took it in November 11th of 2020. So when the universal extension, credit relief extension was discussed, there was a concern by the board, among other states too, that, it's just too long of a gap, by the time you took it to the time it's good, 5 years. A lot of people thought it was a long time. Anyway, but the credit relief was still approved. So yes, he took it November 2020. Now it's January 2025.
But technically, it's only being extended 6 months at this
Correct.
point.
Correct.
technically correct.
Bonnie?
Just for clarification, that's because of the COVID relief, right? Because of the.
Correct.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Correct. So I presume, and I can't remember after reading those stacks, that, the medical could have hit, towards the end of the COVID relief. So,
That's my recollection, yes.
yeah. So part of this may be procrastination, and part of this might just be unlucky timing
Yeah.
of a medical event. By the way, Tracy, I see you're doing a good job of advertising your new digs.
Yes. It's been 3 weeks. It's been great.
I guess to be consistent, I'll I think it's consistent with past practice, you know, that I would propose that we approve his request.
Second?
This is Pete.
I'll go ahead and
also.
second.
Okay, any further discussion?
I
Yeah,
just want to say that I'm going to abstain, just so you know.
No? Understood. Understood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Oh, I'll abstain too, just to keep you company, Carla.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, the motion carries. Now I think we come to the a little more heavy lifting here is the peer review waiver requests. So who's
Yeah.
gonna present these?
Can I ask, I apologize, our comments that would come later, and I thought early to do at the beginning, relate to this section, not to, we are not making a request for any one person here. We don't represent any of these people, but there has been, I think a fair way to say it is a lack of understanding as to how the process works and what we have control over and what individual firms do. So could what we would normally say during the open comment period after this, because it may impact what you decide for these cases, have Julie speak now about the process, how it works, and where we have control to modify or don't have control to modify it. May we do that prior to your discussing the peer review cases?
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yeah,
if
go
I
ahead.
may, let us present what we have first, before, comments can be made. It's really not, may not be that complicated.
Okay, I'll say on that. Now, this issue seems to be that we have what is essentially a self-regulatory program, although that has been required, and we have state regulations. And apparently, a number of our fellows have not kept up to speed with the state regulations. And that's what I see is what's happened here. But to the extent that we can upgrade the regulations, we're always open to proposing amendments and adjustments to make things clearer or more consistent with current practice. So with that, I'll go ahead, Kat.
Okay, great, thank you. So just for the, general understanding, I'll just go over the, I have sent you the, peer review statutes and regulations. And Michelle, if you could pull up the statutes real quick, so that the board can follow us, I just general comment. If you can zoom in, that'd be great. So, no, not this one. This is the CPE. If you can go to the peer review statutes and that one, yeah. Please
Okay.
zoom in. So this is the statute. Basically, can you just zoom in? Yeah. Bigger, please, if possible. So basically, it says that every firm in the state, as a condition to renewal of a firm permit, they have to undergo peer review every 3 years. I've highlighted some pertinent sections to you. And for every 3 years, and it's actually does not require the firm to be peer reviewed by the AICPA. It says that the review shall be performed by a reviewer having such qualifications as set forth by the regulations. So the regulations then, spell out qualifications, including, independence, for example, and things like that. And so if you roll on and go down further, and then it's so that requirement is required of every firm. However, it also says a permit holder may be granted a waiver. It doesn't say shall be granted. It says may be granted a waiver from the requirements if it annually represents to the board, annually means every year, has to do with every year, that it does not engage in the financial reporting area of attest areas of practice. So, and that it does not intend to engage in such practice in the following year, and that it will immediately notify the board if it engages in such practice. So this language is important because, you know, as you can see, one of the cases today, does it mean that the firm can't be engaging in that practice at all? Or can it be this year and not next year and then go back the year after? That's where some of the gray areas come in. And so for other reasons too, but they're not pertinent today, like health reasons, military, those are, I think, more clear cut. And so it also provides that any request for waivers shall be made in writing under oath on a form provided by the board. And it says that any such request shall be made at the time the firm applies for renewal of its firm permit. So in the past, we didn't have a separate form. So this year was the first year that we have a separate form to be in compliance with the letter of the law. So in the past, they would just answer a question. They would just like, you know, do you request a waiver as a question on the renewal application. This year we made it into a separate form. And I think that's where a lot of the confusions came in. And in the form, we would have boxes to check, you know, are you engaging in the financial reporting or attest area? And do you intend to do it in the following year? And all these questions. And do they have to sign it and they have to submit it with the application, renewal application. And so it goes on to say that any firm that has been granted a waiver, Rochelle, if you could scroll down, shall immediately notify the board if it engages in the financial reporting or attest area and shall undergo a quality review during the first calendar year after its initial acceptance of such engagement. And this has never happened. They just don't notify the board. They don't notify us. And in my previous conversation with the AICPA, I think vice president, in the peer review program, it's rarely happened. So anyway, so with that in mind, we have, so this year, like I said, we implemented a separate form. And so when we received these forms, what we did was we would go to the firm's licensing records. So we looked at their past, you know, applications to see, did they request similar waivers in the past? What do they say to the questions of, do you perform attest services? And then we also looked at the PRIMA records, which is a AICPA, you know, peer review program. We would look to see if they are enrolled in the program or what their peer review history is. And then we also went to look at their website to see, you know, do they offer attest services on their website? And so we did a thorough search, you know, research, and through this exercise, we uncovered quite a number of firms practicing without a firm permit all these years. So we are in the process of taking enforcement actions and requiring them to obtain a firm permit. We also found that a number of firms claim to not perform attest services, you know, in their licensing applications, but their websites would offer attestation services and, you know, a full range of services being offered. So in those cases, we contacted them and we asked them for clarification of this discrepancy. And most of them said, oh, we haven't updated our website in years. Or one firm said, oh, we use a canned website. We don't do any of that. And so in those cases, we asked them to update their website before we renewed their licenses. And they, in most cases, promptly updated their websites. There were a couple, and one of which was before you today, where the firm said, we want to offer it, we just haven't been engaged. So the question will be for the board, what is required in those circumstances? So in the most cases where it's clear that the firm would perform only tax services and they don't perform any attestation services, and it's been consistently like that for years, then the waiver form is deemed granted because there's no need to present to the board like hundreds of these forms if they don't do perform attest services. But in the cases where it's uncleared, we would present it to you for your consideration. And so we can go over the cases now, or I didn't know if the society wanted to speak the comments about the process at this time.
I, so.
Hold
I-
it, Bonnie, just a
I am
second.
gonna look-
Bonnie, second. Give me a second first. Okay, before we do that, I, listening and reading before the regulations, there's, I think, a lot of opportunity to clear those up and make them more. And I just will say that last year there was a lot of pushback from the members that, oh, the state never checks on this and never follows up, and it's all their fault. Well, now they went and actually read the regs, and apparently our members didn't, or some of our members didn't. So we've got some work to do going forward once we clear out these particular cases to make it easier and clearer. Go ahead, Bonnie.
I definitely agree with you. There are certain things that the AICPA standards of conduct permit now, but our regs or our statutes and regs have not been updated with those. So there are differences, and that doesn't suit anybody. But there are certain things that Julie's going to speak to that do play a role in how you and what can be done or can't be done, particularly as it relates to who can do a peer review. So I'm just going to turn it over to Julie to comment on it, because there were a number of things that I was not aware of. And I think it's important to understand who actually does peer reviews in terms of entities, and who can do a peer review in terms of individuals. So Julie, could you touch on those things?
Yeah,
Yep.
and before Julie starts, I think one of the things that's interesting is different. We've got to consolidate the definitions of peer reviewers with the regs and what it is, because go ahead.
Yes. So my role at the CTCPA is I am the the CPA on staff for the peer review program. And in 2018, the AICPA was working on tightening up the peer review program and believed that instead of just having administrators, there had to be a CPA there to kind of watch and understand what's happening. The AICPA is, as far as I know, the only entity in the United States that has standards around peer review, and our peer review program is the AICPA's peer review program. We have no peer review program outside of that. So that said, timing is, I think, one of the big problems in understanding this. When a firm first starts performing A&A engagements, they look at the report date and have to have a peer review within 18 months of that, which flies in the face of the regulations that were being discussed this morning. So if Connecticut is going to accept the AICPA's peer review program, that's how it operates. And we don't have wiggle room in this. They have a database that runs their entire program, and it's set up in cases that work off of dates. So the first thing that happens is a firm. Yep, go ahead, John. Can't hear you.
Sorry, I keep trying to get the advent calendar still playing in the background. If somebody conforms, however, with the state, they will also conform with the AICPA. They'll more than confirm, because they'll conform earlier.
No, they don't have that.
If they do that, I'm just talking about the timing under the
I understand that,
AICPA
but
program.
there's no method. The method works through Prima, And if you went in as a firm and said, okay, I did my review, my report date was January 25th, 2025, the Prima will push it out and there really isn't any way to pull it back. All these dates are set and they're national. This is a national program. So this is the way it
Understood.
happens nationally. Okay, so there's that date. And I think the dating is the real issue in this. So what peer review looks at in the peer review year is, let's just say, let's stick with the calendar year to make life easy. In 2025, if this is my peer review year, then any client that I had with a year end during 2025 would be the population that would be peer reviewed. So choices would be made, what to choose out of a risk assessment is to be made. Choices are made, what is taken. I could be, in theory, working on these clients 2 years later. They would still belong in this year. I mean, that happened in
understood.
rare instances during COVID, but it's a possibility. What was the question, John?
No, I just said understood.
So the issue really is that a firm that is being asked to have a peer review will have it every third year, looking at the clients with the year end during that peer review year. It is not, and it's not calendar. Some are, but not all. So the dates are not going to necessarily, and plus if you were doing 2025 year ends, you would be looking at them starting in 2026.
6.
So that seems to be where the difficulties happen. So the kind of the very strange thing about this is the trigger date is the report date for the first one, but after that's set, it is the client's year end that governs. And there are a lot of little niggly distinctions within the program, but that's the broad outline.
So Julie, one of the other things that has come up is, fine, that's the way the AICPA does it. If someone doesn't fit within that, can they just go out and get their own peer review or for purposes of meeting the state's requirements? Could you comment on that, please? Because I was surprised by the answer to that as well.
So if you look at the review report, it says that the peer review was performed under the standards created by the AICPA. And if you're an AICPA member, you can't do a peer review other than by following the AICPA standards. And as to my knowledge, I don't know anyone who's got any other standards out there. I don't know what it would consist of.
Oh, no, the standards would always have to be the same. Standards for performing this peer review. I'm not sure that that's a dispute.
Well, the standards also govern the timing, who can leave the program, how they can leave the program. I could send you the link to the standards, but all these things are
I know
in
where
the
they are. I've read them.
standards.
So unfortunately, based on what Julie learned and what we've learned from speaking to AICPA, there are no people doing peer reviews out there that are affiliated with the program in any way that can perform a peer review outside of the program. We actually got a call from the AICPA to confirm that we're not doing anything like that, because we're greatly concerned that we may be doing something we're not supposed to. We told them, no, we don't have anybody that's part of our peer review program that's not in the AICPA program, but you cannot find a peer reviewer that is not doing it within that different time frame that is participating in the peer review program. And as you all know, there's a shortage of peer reviewers to begin with.
Serious.
So that's a problem too. So saying that, oh, you can get somebody else to do it would be great. And it sounded great initially, but the answer is no, you can't find anyone else to do it. There are no other peer reviewers.
I just wanted to go ahead, Bonnie. I thought you were done.
No, so that was one big one that we thought was important as we go through those different things. Julie, is there something else that we also identified as we were trying to help address some of the situations. And again, I want to make it clear, we are not representing anyone on your list today. We're not advocating for or against anyone. We just want to address the peer review issue. Cindy, I'm sorry, Julie, is there something else along that line that we need to bring up? This?
I think most of it has to do with timing. And we submitted the timeline document that shows that firms are being told that they need to have a peer review in years other than the AICPA's peer review year. The only thing I can think of is, I believe at the bottom of that document, we put conduct of the review with section 2281-8, which says that the quality review shall be limited to reports with the year end within the date of the year under review. So that goes back to the timing. So a firm could, in theory, be doing A&A work, and they would be there's kind of a lag from when they, and I really do think timing is the biggest problem in understanding how this works.
The other thing that I thought was a role in everything that you may decide is that if someone withdraws from the peer review program, they're out. They can't go back in and have something reviewed in hindsight or anything like that. Once they review, they're out. And for them to get back in, they have to say that they're doing attestation work again. So if someone decides to stop doing attestation work, which we're seeing a lot of, as everyone knows, there is no place for them to go either to have it. They can't re-enroll in it for a year and then get out without saying something that's not true by saying, yes, we're going to go ahead and be performing this type of work, etc. So that's another thing to remember. Once you're out, and they don't allow you to go and get anything peer reviewed in hindsight.
Well, I guess
retroactively, I'm sorry.
I guess I feel that's a little, to me, that sounds a little confusing. I think that the issue is firms are, under the standards, allowed to leave the peer review program up until their peer review commences. And so they could, in theory, have done work in the year, but they go out and they say, we are no longer going to be performing a test work, and we will sign back in if we do. I will say that we would know if firms were coming in and out. We would see it. We haven't been. I really don't think that's the issue. So what I would say is, a firm that says we are no longer performing engagements, and if you look at the hypothetical, and if you want, I can walk you through it because I think it explains it really well, is that a firm can leave be doing, say, 2021, especially with COVID, year-end engagements. They start the work in 22, so they need to say that they are doing A&A work in 22. And in the case of the one that I showed you, they could be doing it in 23 and still saying, yes, we are doing work in 23. But their year that we would be looking at as do they qualify would have still been 21, because that's the date of the client's engagements. It's the dating that makes this very hard to understand. Is that clear?
John, you're on mute.
Sounds a little bit like logic chopping to me. They're
the standards. I didn't write them.
I just wanted to mention that, the state law does not require anyone to have membership with the AICPA. You wouldn't do that. And also that, it does say originally, maybe over time doesn't work that way anymore, but that the AICPA peer review program isn't the only one and mandatory program. And that originally the state law says that if a firm has to give the board the name of their peer reviewer by March, and if they fail to do so, the board can designate a peer reviewer by April. But that's the original intent. So, if you would like to make regulations revisions, I would be happy, to work with you on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure of anybody that, who
Nobody
who does peer reviews for not under AICPA standards?
I don't believe there is anyone.
I don't think there are any.
I think we're sort of square peg round hole.
And
Right
they're
now.
kind of mandated in the profession.
If you're an AICPA member, you have no choice but to use the AICPA.
Well,
You
understood,
lose
but
firm
you've got to be
mobility.
you've got to be an AICPA member to be eligible for other things too, though, so
Right,
it comes
exactly.
around.
And one of the big problems is if you don't follow it, you lose firm mobility. So while Connecticut does not adopt that, the board has approved that, but we didn't pursue it with the legislature right away. And the other states, we're one of the very few states that don't have it. So having that firm mobility is really very important to most firms. So that's another tangle here.
So would you like me to proceed to the first case before you?
Yeah, and I'll just make one comment beforehand. It's very, and I'll let Carla make a comment right afterwards. It's clear to me that we need to do some work on fine tuning our regulations to make sure it's rub out the misgivings and issues or misunderstandings. Go ahead, Carla. But
Okay,
yeah, I will note
okay.
that nobody has recommended to the board or the DCP any modifications to those in the last few years. So this isn't, there's a lot of people that gotta get moving. Go ahead, Carla.
Yep, I agree with what John said. And to me, I was just sitting here I think Julie gave a great description. And to me, the thought I kept having was this sounds like the never-ending story. And it seems like the way things are being done now and interpreted, regulations interpreted, it's really such a moving target that it's, well, almost meaningless if you can go out 2 years from the supposed date that the review was supposed to take place. So I guess I agree things need to be tightened up or explained.
Right. And regs have to be made so that they're a lot easier for the regulator to track and deal with it too. And I'm not sure we're there yet.
Right.
Other than,
So the case,
I'm sorry, just to
Okay.
jump in quickly, respond to Carla. Other than COVID, I don't think anybody's going 2 years. I'm just saying that when you have something like COVID happening, which is sort of the time frame we're dealing with now, things got pushed out.
Right.
Well, I gotta
We
tell you,
sometimes give extensions, but our extensions are 60 days.
Mhm.
I wouldn't hire an auditor who quit after 2 years and then pulled that back in later. I would say, what do they got to hide? I'm sorry, it's up, you're up, Kat.
okay. So with Arburger and Company, they submitted a waiver request based on the fact that they performed no attest work. So when we looked at the record, we found a Facebook page that says this, the firm stated that it is, quote, focused on providing quality audit and assurance. And we found LinkedIn page that, described them managing partner that, under experience, she said from March 2014 to the present, that she has, performs audit, accounting, tax, and consulting services. We also found an article in the Hamlet Hub, it's a New Canaan local paper, where the company, the firm was featured. And, the question was, what is your best-selling product / services? And the firm responded that we are a CPA firm and our main services are tax preparation, strategy, audit, reviews, compilation, and small business consulting, accounting. And so we looked at the peer review history in Prima, and we found that they had their past two peer review reports was in 2017 and 2021, and both passed with deficiency. And the last AICPA completion letter was dated 2022, And in that letter, it said the due date for the next review was September 2023. However, instead of undergoing peer review in 2023, they resigned from peer review in 2023. And so we looked at their licensing records, and in 21, 22, and 23, license renewal, the question was, do you perform attest services? And they answered yes. So with all that, we asked them to clarify, to explain their request. And the firm stated that we have permanently exited the audit and assurance division, and our last financial reporting engagement was dated November 2020. They said that they sold their clients in May 2023, and other things that I have forwarded to you. They provided copies of their audit reports. And if you looked at them, all except one, all 6, the audit reports were signed in October 2022. October, and one in September 2022, and one was signed in November 2023. So I don't see how they can claim that their last engagement was performed in 2020 when these reports were signed in 2022 and 2023. We also looked at DOL. We have DOL, the Department of Labor records. They share that with us, and they do have these 401k plans filed in 2021, but we don't have the latest database. So anyway, with that, the firm said that, our Facebook, we haven't, updated that in years. And so they did remove the attest, references. And as of January 7th, 2025, that page has been deactivated. So the question is, should they be required to undergo peer review? The program would say that no, because they didn't have any engagement in 2024. Or should we open an enforcement case? Because in 2023, when they should have undergo peer review, they resigned and they failed. And now they're saying, it's too late. We don't have any to review. So that's, the request is presented to you for your consideration. John, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I know. The phone was ringing in the background. But any thoughts?
Pat, can you clarify the years again? Like the last report they issued was in September and October of 22, and they resigned from peer review in 2023. And so what year are they subject to peer review? For 2022, would those be the engagements that would be reviewed under a peer review? I guess my question is it related to those reports that were from late 2022? That's the question. Or is it that they've been unclear on their intent of whether they're in the audit and the test business going forward at that point? That's what's not very clear to me on this one.
Right, that is the issue. So the issue is they, under the program, they were told that their next peer review would be due September 2023. So from my understanding is that if they are subject to peer review in September 2023, then that means any engagement they performed that year, I believe September 2022 through September 2023 will be subject to peer review. And go ahead.
If I could explain the dates. So if a peer review is due in September of 2023, it's due 6 months after the peer review year. That would mean that their peer review year end would have been March 31st, 2023. Their beginning of their peer review would have been April 1st, 2022. That would be the peer review year. So the question that the system asks is, was there a client year end between April 2022 and March of 2023?
Answer will be no, it sounds like.
Well, if they sign an audit report on November of 2023,
That means they at least had to do subsequent events work up to November 2023, i.e. was performing a test work.
But it doesn't mean the client's year end was at that point. So the question still is, you have to go back, when was the client's year end?
see, I guess it's unclear to me why we're using client year end and not when the work was performed.
Because that's the way they wrote the standards. It's the standards
See, that-
throughout the country. It's what we're stuck with.
See, that's almost impossible for us to implement, because, you know, we see the letters in Prima, and we see what, you know, is the due date. And then we're told, no, that's not really, you know, they have, so this firm had 5 different audit reports signed in October 2022. What year is that? I mean, when are they subject to?
What did the client's report say? What was the year under audit?
I don't know what that means. I just know that the
The
year
client's
ended December, and it was signed in October 2022. So
then the client's year end would have been the December date.
12/31/21.
but a lot of are not done. A lot of work is not done for that year end. What if they, you know, did 2 years after the year end?
Well, to
Date.
John's point, it's relatively unusual. You don't want auditors that are dragging things out 2 years, but I think we're sort of stuck in COVID world. But in the way Prima works, the way the standards are written, is that you don't look at when the work was performed, you look at the year end. And in general, I mean, you know, thinking of not-for-profits, many not-for-profits are June 30th. The work is done somewhere between September, and if you've got uniform guidance audits, and you need to get those in by December. So that timing is relatively tight. And I mean, I can't speak for all auditees, but when I was finance director at CTCPA, we generally had our audit reports in 3 months. I can only, you know, you guys know what you did in your own practices, how long it took to get audit reports. The only thing I can tell you is that I don't know where these firms would go to have a peer review, because it's not when they signed the report, it's when the client year end was.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, if the problem is, and there's a very serious problem with a lack of peer reviewers, if there's a problem with the timing due to that, then there's always extensions that are available. So I view that as a serious problem, because peer reviews can't get done timely, but I don't, it's a dealable.
We really don't have, I mean, this December is the heaviest time frame. We have no peer reviews from 2023 that aren't finished. We have a couple that are open because people are doing corrective actions. We don't give extensions, as I said, in excess of 60 days. And if firms are dragging their heels, our process is that they have to go before the AICPA and get tossed out of the program. And then that goes to the state board. It's in Prima. This firm got dumped.
I was
terminated.
reviewing our ability on our
Oh,
side.
your ability. Well, in the cases, that may be different. Larger firms are different. But in the CTCPA's program, we're pretty timely.
Carla.
Yeah, back to the actual case at hand here. Uh, when you see the term peer review waiver request, does that mean that they're going to start back up later, or are they just somehow requesting that they never have peer review again?
I think the latter. I think in this case, and we have cases where it's flipping back and forth, but not this case. This case is where I believe they testified that they stated that they have permanently exited the program. So in a lot of cases, the question would be, do you want to require them to perform that one last peer review? You know, and here, you know, what can we do?
So that I got the impression that it was really helpful. Thank you for the regulations to be up there, that they have to do some sort of peer review. I mean, that's the primary enforcement mechanism, which is voluntary, but there's no other alternative, is there?
Yeah, that that is the issue. So with this firm, I don't have the information in front of me right now, but half of the reports have year end of December 31st, 2021 and 22. However, their peer review, according to that letter, is that their next due date it was September 2023. So based on what Julie said, the population would be April 20, I'm sorry, Julie, would the year end December 31st, 2021 be included?
So, no, because the year, if you're looking at December 31st, it'd be December 31st, 2022. There'd have to be a report to the client with a year end of December 31st, 2022.
They do have that. So they do have at least one report that I see with a year end of December 31st, 2022. Oh, no, but that was signed by another firm. Okay, so I don't have the information in front of me, but
It sounds like, based on what you said, Kat, that they don't have a report that is on a client year end after 12/31/21. So they may not have been subject to peer review for the 2023 year. That's what I'm getting out of this from both you and Julie describing the dates. Does anybody else think that's true?
I would agree.
I believe that may be true. The thing that I'm not following, and I was just trying to look at the statute live here, is the AICPA standard is, it sounds like, clearly based on the year of the financial statements. It's not jumping off the page, and given I'm looking at it while I'm also trying to pay attention, that's how our statute's written. But assuming that's the case, then I would think that, yes, they would not be subject to the peer review for 2023. I also just want to note that I unfortunately do have a hard stop at 11:30 today. So I don't know if we want to table these for the next meeting, or if it's okay if I drop 11:30, but I just want to mention that.
Whichever we do, and before you drop off, and since we've also lost Stacy to a hard stop, I think we've got to get a group together and take a look at these and conform them.
I don't know why we wouldn't conform to AICPA at this point. I mean, I don't think it is doing anyone any service to have different standards between the state and AICPA.
Yeah.
Now, that also doesn't necessarily excuse firms that have ignored Connecticut statute, but going forward, I would think we would want to conform.
Want to conform them as long as, assuming conforming, and I believe it will, provides the same degree of assurance regarding protection of the public. Yeah.
we'd at least want someone to, what I would say is a subcommittee to explore conformity, and my hope would be that the subcommittee recommends conformity. How's that?
Yeah, I
So
agree.
if,
So before you leave, I'm going to ask for volunteers. Bob, you went silent.
Well, I don't know if you can have, I can help you with what the
Yes, we
standards
can.
say if
Yes,
you have
yes.
questions.
Yes, we can have outside resources.
Yeah, I mean, what
I just
what
want
I
to
would
get
say
the
is, you know,
the board.
could we possibly ask, you know, maybe Kat and Julie to look at what it would take to sync the two up and present it to us? Is that a possibility?
I think it's a possibility. I think the other possibility is, what are other states doing?
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, presumably we would just, you know, and I'm, you know, I could be totally wrong here, but so often our statutes are based off of New York. And so my first question, if I were looking at this, would be, where's our original source of this? Was it New York, and has New York changed theirs? And if they have, and theirs conforms with the AICPA, then I would think that an easy thing to ask the legislature for would be, hey, look, this was originally based on New York. Things have changed. New York does it this way. AICPA does it this way. Can we update our statutes to be the same, basically?
Is there a resource at NASBA?
Excuse me?
Is there a resource at NASBA?
Oh, yes, NASBA's a great resource, and we use them constantly.
That may be a good one here, because while you're absolutely right, Robert, that we do follow New York a lot, New York was actually a state that didn't have peer review
For the longest time.
for the longest time. And so just that. And then one other factor before you close or decide what you're going to do, firms, and again, we are not advocating for or against any of these individuals, but it is my understanding that their perm permits have not been granted for this year. So they do not have the ability to operate legally from January 1 on. So if you were to table it, I do think that you need to either extend it until a resolution is determined, or something along those lines. I do not know the individual cases, so I'm not commenting on them, but I do know that perm permits are not being granted for some people where this is in question. So I just leave that for Kat to discuss with you. Again, we're not advocating for or against anyone.
Yeah, no, that's not an issue. We will renew the firm permit until, you know, if the board decides to deny the request, we can always, you know, work to remove that, you know, work backwards, but that's not an issue.
Sounds good. And if they're truly not doing any a test work, then it's almost moot.
I agree.
I agree with that.
So, Mr. Chair, if you want to table this, the next case and the issue is, what if somebody wants to, it says they don't do a test work, but they want to leave open that possibility. So that is, you know, for you to consider until the next time, which is they say they're not subject to peer review, but their website continue to, you know, offer that services, and their answer is, well, we want to be able to do it if engaged, meaning they just haven't been hired, but they want to. And so in that case, what should happen? Do they need to answer yes, you know, to the question of, do you perform a test work and maintain the 8 hours credits of of audit, or what is required? Because we have a few who.
We can't hear you, John.
Robert is shaking his head vigorously, and he has to leave in a minute.
My opinion is that you can't, I would think you can't offer a test work on your website unless you're accredited to perform the test work. Now, if in 6 months a client is a tax client and says, I really wish you guys did a test work, and they decide to re-enter the program, then they can, you know, add it back to their website, I would think is how it has to work.
That sounds reasonable to me. So far, before I go, so far we seem to be just dumping more problems into Kat's lap here, but Carla?
Yeah, I think under all these circumstances, I mean, these issues are complex and overlapping and multifaceted. So I think in fairness to the waiver requests, we ought to extend their ability to practice at least for 6 months till we all can get a handle on what's going on. And I'd make that motion.
Interesting. Any second so we can discuss?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay, any comments on that? And I can see upside and downside to that. Do we think it's going to take us 6 months to get a resolution on that?
Oh, yeah, I don't think you need, like, there are no one being held up, so,
So then you're saying we don't need this, Kat? Then
Correct.
I withdraw my second.
I withdraw my motion.
thank you.
So unfortunately, guys, I have to go. I will see you
Yeah.
at the next one. I apologize.
No, understood.
So we can put this on the
Okay.
agenda for
We can
in March.
put this
if we
on the
want.
agenda, and if we get some sort of resolution in the meantime, where we say, no, we should take at least partial action, we can do a special meeting.
Understood. Thank you.
Kat, could I ask that
Okay.
on the different waiver requests that you were presenting, can you put in like, what is their actual peer review year? Like what year was under review when they were talking about it? Because you have peer review report dates, which is the date they issued their opinion. I'm presuming, and the AICPA completion letter isn't really a great date either, because sometimes it takes 4 to 6 months to get an approval. So I guess, and then due date for the next review report to me is unclear. I think Julie's assuming that it's,
It should
you've
be
got
6 months.
6 months after the
Yes.
year end to submit the report. So to me, kind of in analyzing these, it would be helpful to know, like, what were the actual peer review report, like what periods were they reviewing? In other
Unfortunately,
words, was it the year ended March 31st? I don't know.
unfortunately, we
2020?
don't have that information. I mean,
But didn't they
see,
have to
that's,
submit the peer review report?
we only see limited correspondence letters in the Prima program. The peer review program, like, very not sharing information with the states. So I
You
can
see-
tell you, I can only see certain program. Next time I can include those for you, like the peer review acceptance letter, the peer review, reports. But in terms of it's very close, kind of program. A lot of information is not shared with the board, with the states.
But
You
wouldn't the
see
firm have had to submit I mean,
But we don't
firms are
see that
required to-
information.
What's that?
We don't see that information. We don't know what's reported. We don't know anything about. We've tried to ask, but the program would say we're not allowed to share that with you.
But the firm is required to submit their peer review report to the state of Connecticut.
Right, just the report, like basically the peer review report at the end that says, you pass or you fail. But it doesn't say, I don't believe it doesn't say what was submitted.
It shows the year. It
It would
tells the year. And
tell you
if
the
if you go based off anything that says your next peer review report is due on such and such a date, go back 6 months, and then it's the year from there.
But is
But-
that
but
stated
the-
in the letter?
The report has the date.
Right, so next time I will share with you the letters or the reports.
Good, good.
And just, Kat, I'm not sure what you can and cannot see, but if you can see the peer review information, there's a screen that kind of says the name of the firm and the peer review contacts. That will have the year under review. You don't see that.
But I will include that, the information that we
Uh,
get next time for you.
Yeah, a little bit of useless privacy. Did you have your hand up, Bud?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, um, I mean, we got to put the, we, oops, we got to put together something. And it might take some in-person time, so I'll contact everybody by email afterwards and see who's available and who feels that they can do it, understanding this is a pretty crappy time of year to be handling anything outside of business for those of us who aren't retired.
And John, I'm happy to, I know you guys are busy. We're happy to help bring things together, look at the other states. And we do.
Oh, you will be asked, honey. You will be asked.
I say we do work with NASBA and Frank and the AICPA. So if we do have some resources to try to help out. So happy stick us on there and we'll do what we can. Can I just ask the timing of the regs that are, remember we had regulations that were out there regarding, I believe it was penalties. They had to be pulled back, but I believe they're still in the process. They're just not being pursued right now. So we wouldn't have to wait for 3 years if we had something that worked out that was drafted. We could just amend those regs. Is
Yeah,
that true or were those dumped?
Well, I don't, I'm not really sure, excuse me, but Kat and I were talking about this earlier, and she seems to think that we could get this squeezed in anytime and on a pretty good track. I can't remember how, but that's for those of you that deal with government.
Yes, we can introduce regs anytime, but I think Bonnie's question is the old regs. The question is, I'm not sure. I saw some provisions like passed, so I was surprised too, like with the October exam date. And so I had to go back to see if, it was the same package or just provisions of it. I'm not sure, but I will check.
Okay, I'll follow up with you. Thank you.
Okay. Oh. We didn't take care of Carl Helming.
No, that's the next item.
It's open.
Would
Yeah.
you like to, defer that until the next meeting as well? That just, he submitted CPE certificates that are not, NASPA approved, and I'm not sure if they're acceptable to the board. So, but there's
Okay,
no big
yeah, we
rush. We
can-
can wait till March.
We can hold that on, yes. Okay, and the others, do we have any further comments or concerns of anybody here today then? Hearing none, any additional comments, concerns, proposals for agenda items, et cetera, from the board members?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, 1 sec. There was another correspondence
Oh,
from a licensee, Megan Hannon. They had some questions about the new pathways.
okay.
I can put her email up on the.
Or if it's not too long, you can just read it.
So it says, Dear board members, I recently passed the 4th section of the CPA exam. I have 125 credits with my bachelor's in accounting from Quinnipiac and 15 years of experience. After watching the latest board meeting and reading the minutes, it seems like you're moving forward with the additional pathway options with a potential effective date of January 1st, 2027. Do you have any advice for someone in my position? And is it possible that the additional pathways will be in place before January 1st, 2027?
I would suspect it's highly unlikely it'll be in place before January 1st, 2027, but you've got your hand up, Bonnie.
So I did meet with the chairs of the General Law Committee last week, and I brought forward our proposals exactly as we had discussed. They were very open to it. I was surprised. Usually, they handle cannabis and alcohol and AI, so getting them to pay attention to CPA issues sometimes can be somewhat of a challenge. but they were very open and listened to everything we had to say and were nodding their heads the whole time. So I do believe that those provisions will move forward. In terms of the effective date, I know some states, actually quite a few states, are moving the pathways for effective dates of January 2026 as opposed to 2027, as I proposed to you. The reason why I proposed 2027 was because I wanted to make sure enough states had adopted automatic mobility, because remember, that was one of our big concerns is mobility, and that's why we didn't move sooner. So my recommendation at this time would to be stick with 2027. If you disagree, and you think that it's worth going forward sooner, we can. People have more attention to where they want to practice and whether or not whatever pathway they choose is acceptable in the state they go to. So I do want you to know that is moving forward. I'm not opposed to, there are a lot of people that would like to see it go into effect January 1, 2026. When we first started, the state started talking about the changes. Everyone said 27. I was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago with all my counterparts, and a number of the states have moved it to January 1, 2026. So I leave it to you to decide as a board at this point. I don't think that either is the wrong, I don't think either pathway is the wrong way or the right way. I think for some people, 27 will work. For some people, 26 will work. We just are going to have to make sure that we make it clear regarding mobility. They'll have the ability to practice here, but if they follow our rules, will they practice? Absolutely some. I already passed it. I think Washington State's the next one, expected to pass it in just a few weeks because their board does it. But I just want you to know that there'll be some bumpiness. And so as we're advising people, the thing that we're going to have to keep out there, both on our website and on DCP's, is the fact that people are going to need to check the rules in the state they're planning on practicing in to ensure that they will be eligible for licensure in that state.
Scratch the wasn't.
Right, I think put down that there's a lot of good information, but I'd say I don't see how I could offer this person a clear vision of when everything's going to happen and what she should do.
Right.
Be nice.
You know, when you get calls like this, people call us all the time on these issues.
Right.
We're happy to keep them updated. So I don't have a problem if you say that unfortunately you cannot, people everywhere say that we say the same thing. We cannot predict whether this legislation will pass or not, but you know, the people that are pursuing it are the CTCPA and send them to us. And because they'll keep on calling, I will tell you, they'll keep on calling for updates regularly. And we're happy we deal with that now. I'm happy to deal with it going forward. Well, our team is happy to deal with that going forward. That's what they're there for.
Okay.
Nobody knows what's going to happen. I wish we could accurately predict what the legislature is going to do every year, but we just can't.
We can't even predict what the AICPA and NASBA is going to do every year.
True.
So does anybody, yes, Carla?
I suggest that, did Kat get the email? Whoever got the email, just send back and say the board feels at this time it is premature to make a determination as to when the potential
Right.
new pathways might go into effect.
Right.
That's
Agreed. I don't think we need a motion for that.
No, I don't either.
Bonnie, when would we need to know if we wanted to change it to 26? Like, we're in the process.
It's best to ask for that during the public hearing, but things can be changed right up to the end, but you have less and less ability to change things as it gets closer to the end because it becomes a question of timing. I will
Okay.
tell you, I am being asked by many to have the mobility provision go into effect upon passage. That's one of the things a number of states are doing. I think that's a good idea, but then it becomes a special act. But I would say you really the session ends in June this year. I think it's actually like June 4th. It's fairly early in June. So the definitely deciding that sooner as opposed to later would be good, because we don't want to get caught in the year session end rush if we can at all help it.
Right.
Okay, good. Are there any other issues? We've got the longest meeting in a long, long time here, so I'm looking at those that are still working and saying, you guys want to get off. But is there anything else? Any other comments, thoughts, new business? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And Kat, I'll give you a call this afternoon.
Have a good day,
Thank
everybody.
Thank you. Take care.
that-
Thank you.
Aye.
Everybody,
Bye-bye.